right, David, let's stop prolonging the inevitable. Let's talk about our movie this week.
All right, so we're gonna dive into the top 100. We continue our breakdown of the top 100 movies of all time of our pinnacle of filmical, which I still love that we haven't changed anything on that.
No, too lazy.
This week we are looking at number 78 of the top 100s, the 2000
intergalactic drama Requiem for a Dream.
No, it is not.
Oh, it's just a regular drama. My bad.
Just a regular drama from Darren Aronofsky. I'm probably saying his name wrong. You might know him from some of his later movies. He directed The Fountain, The Wrestler,
That's
Black
Hugh
Swan.
Jackman.
Yes.
Is that a good movie?
Yeah. We'll talk about it because I'll talk about it. So anyways, this movie is based off of a book.
Swan. Oh, Pi. He did Pi
He
too?
did Pi, yeah. Now what's interesting, this guy directed this movie when he was 31. This guy's young.
Yeah.
He directed a lot of really important movies when he was very, very young. But it's based off of a novel by Herbert Selby Jr. But the movie, do you have the description there? Let's just read the quick quote.
The drug-induced utopias of 4 Coney Island people are shattered when their addictions run deep.
Yes. So that's what the movie's about. We don't want to spoil too much, but it stars Jared Leto, Marlon
Who's
Wayans.
fantastic, by the way.
Yeah. Which is weird because,
Is this before or after Fight Club?
Before. I think before, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it was about the same time. Yeah. Marlon Wayans and Jennifer Connelly, and then the mom. I can't remember her name. Actress, because she
Ellen Burstyn.
Yeah, she was nominated for.
Oh no, that's her. Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
She was nominated for an Academy Award or an Oscar, I think, for this performance in this movie. So it circles around these 4 people, and Jared Leto's character's mom is her name's Sarah, and it's all about it's broken up almost into 3 distinct parts of the movie. They actually are called Summer, Fall, and Winter, and there's actually a fade to black where it says the word
or a very hard cut.
Yeah, very very hard.
Crazy happens.
Now this movie is very deep. I will talk about it. Obviously, we'll spoil the hell out of it because it came out in 2000 again, people. But I want to
super sad.
It is in a lot of instances. This is considered one of the most depressing movies ever. Like this movie is one, and I'll tell you, after I watched this movie, I literally it drained me, physically. I was upset. I had a headache. I had to take some Tylenol. I'm not joking,
David.
No, seriously, I get really into these movies, man.
Me too. Let's just say this is not the first time I've seen this movie.
Yeah, me neither.
I saw it maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I knew what I was getting myself into. I'm like, this time I'm going to get a little inebriated. Let's see if we can make this movie even better.
Yeah.
Does not work. There's no making this movie. Not saying better it's a fantastic movie. Spoiler alert, thumbs up. But I'm just saying make it a little more uplifting. There's no making this movie. There's nothing you can do.
Reason why this movie is let's just review it. I think we've probably said it's really just the movie. The entire movie is about the concept of addiction. That is, and it is told in a compelling and frustrating and visually stunning and unnerving. I've used that word for the last 3 movies. Method. It is just, it sucks. This movie is one of those movies like 12 Years a Slave, The Schindler's List, where you can't
but even
watch
12 Years a Slave, something good happens at the end.
No, I know, but it's one of those movies where you literally walk out and you're like, I can't watch that movie again for at least a couple of years. It drains you
it's
physically,
emotionally, and it's all you want to do after is have an ice cream cone.
Something nice. That's why I watch all those Netflix comedy specials afterwards. But the performances from everybody are just amazing. The cinematography in this movie has led to a lot of other same type of uses, which we'll talk about. It's this idea. Well, let's just talk about it right now. Using very quick jump cuts of a sequence of an action, meaning let's say you're going to have breakfast. So you show you opening the box of cereal, then quickly pouring the cereal into a bowl, and then milk quickly into the cereal, then the spoon in the cereal, and then you close up on the mouth eating the cereal. And that has been used by a lot of people, including one person I really enjoy is Casey Neistat. He's a YouTube celebrity. He uses that all the time, and I was always that's really cool how he does that. I forgot that this is one of the movies that introduced that.
Part where she's eating that kind of stuff.
Where it's just it explains an action by showing snippets of the action in process. And it does that with drug use, I understand about. And it's repeated over and over. Exactly. That type of those types of cuts, and that's really really interesting, and it's used in a way to tell part of the story later on in the movie. But let's just review it at this point. So remember, with these, it's on a curve. So thumbs up is it deserves to be on the top 100 list, potentially higher. Thumbs to the side, it's a good movie, maybe not top 100 material, and you should still go see it. And then thumbs down is this movie doesn't deserve to be anywhere near the top 100. Somebody just really likes this movie, or a bunch of people on the internet like it. 1, 2, 3. 2 thumbs up from both of us. Now, I'm almost, this is getting close to a thumbs to the side only because I can't watch this movie very often. So it's hard for me to recommend a movie
Sarah
that
didn't want to watch the movie with me because she seen it. We saw it, last time we saw it together. And I'm like, oh, well, it's back. Gotta watch it again. She's like, no, you can watch it by yourself this time.
That's what I'm saying. I think in order, but see, it's hard because it feels like if a movie is so, you're so enveloped in the movie that it actually hurts you personally and you don't want to enjoy it. It's like the classical, not operative, what did I call it last week with A Clockwork Orange, where they're trying to teach you something by showing you something not fun. Like, you almost like, I don't want to watch the movie because it makes me feel gross. It makes me feel bad, so I don't want to watch it. And that could be a good thing. Like, the movie is so visceral that it literally makes me feel like that. You watch a sad thing on...
And it's freaking real, man. Yeah. And like, I'm assuming it's real. I have never been involved in very heavy drug use or anything like that.
Never took heroin?
But yeah, never took heroin. But I'm sure a lot of it just, like you said, it feels so visceral and just real and like you're there and to the point where you're just like, you're uncomfortable, but you can't take your eyes away.
It's a car crash.
Yeah, I told Sarah, like, how long is this movie?
Well, let's just kind of go through it because I want to start spoiling it and kind of go into the characters and why this movie, in my opinion, is such a fantastic depiction of the rubber band effect, right? Of things can go well, but eventually that rubber band will snap and then it all goes to crap. So the movie opens up, you're introduced to Harold Goldfarb, who is played by Jared Leto, who is super young in this movie, looks super, super young. He's super thin too, by the way, which like...
Well, he's a druggie.
Well, no, I know. So at the very beginning of the movie is like, first of all, you see Shooter McGavin from Happy Gilmore telling you juice, which is... join us in creating excellence by you. I was
going to say, what is the thing that they chant?
Juice, 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 juice by you, juice by you. That's what they keep saying.
Juice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it opens up on this like old school infomercial dieting, like, those self-help books.
Just keys to success.
Yes, self-help books, right? Yeah. But it's like a TV program. So, and this show just constantly repeats throughout the show because one of the characters keeps watching it, the mom. And so at the first I'm like, I don't remember this part of the movie because I've watched it previously, but I remember watching it like passing, because I think it was also when I watched it, I was in high school.
Did they have this movie at Bose, David?
No. No. It is not known for its surround sound.
The way they say ass to ass, you can really hear it coming from all around. Everyone chanting.
So you're immediately introduced to Jared Leto's character, who is stealing the TV from his poor mother. And is stealing it, and you're like, what the hell is going on? He's stealing it to go pawn it. Which, by the way, like, there's no closer pawn shop. Like, they have to take this pawn shop all the way down to the pier, like in Coney Island. I'm like, there's got to be a pawn shop within it. But anyways, they take it on the wheels. Him and Marlon
on the
Wayans.
little TV cart, yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, I know what they're going to do with this. They're going to buy drugs with this money. Like, it's almost obvious immediately.
No, just like the fact that she locked herself in the room.
Oh, it's so...
And she had the TV tied to chained to the thing. Wall. And he's like, why you got to chain it up, Ma? She's like, for the robbers. And it's like, well... That's kind of what you're doing,
Yeah, you're trying
and
to.
She reluctantly, slides the key under so he doesn't demolish it.
And he keeps beating on the door.
It's an addiction. What are you going to do?
But she quietly says to herself, I forget her husband's name. I think his name's Seymour. She's like, it's okay, Seymour. Obviously she's talking to her dead husband.
She lives by herself.
It's just like one of the, in law, like we when you do a crime, obviously there's some punishment. If you do it against an elderly person, it's like twice the punishment. So it's like and like they do this split screen at the very beginning of the movie, which is again it's not used very often in movies. The split screen usually cuts one way or the other. And here it's showing like Jared Leto banging on the door and the mom like curled up in like the fetal position.
Cool. They do it a couple times in this movie. It's done really well.
So immediately you're like, I don't like this guy. This guy's a jackass. Like he's stealing this TV from his poor mother, who's like speaking to her dead husband, like, oh, it's okay, Seymour. He's a good boy. It's okay. It's okay. So he takes the TV down, sells it. Of course, he's going to use it for drug money because you're like, what else is he going to use? What other terrible? Why other reason?
Not just that, but this is a regular occurrence to the same pawn guy. Because remember, she goes to pick up the TV and how you doing? Doing great.
And he's like, why don't you call the cops on your son? He's like, oh, he's just a good boy. This is just something he does. It's like basically she's enabling he's enabling her. Oh, I don't know if it's that. I don't know. I don't necessarily think she's like not. She doesn't
do no wrong.
I don't think it's that. I think it's just one of those things where she's like, it's just something he does. He's quirky. He steals my TV and sells it at the pawn shop, and I have to come buy it back. By the way, the pawn guy, do you think he How much do you think he like at a certain point the price keeps going up, or do you think he keeps it the same?
I don't know. I was just looking for his buzzer. Ding 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 ding.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's from Breaking Bad.
Salamanca. Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't even notice that. Okay, so he sells the TV. Mom goes and meets him. She takes it back and she like plugs it in, and she's watching just crappy TV again, like what we talked about. It's a lot of the infomercials, the stuff
the same infomercial.
Same infomercial.
It's the only thing she watched on
right.
TV.
So then you're also introduced to, so you don't like this character and you feel sorry for the mom, right? And so you then meet.
Sorry, important plot point.
Yeah.
They bring people on the show to win things, so it's kind of like a game show / infomercial. Remember they brought on the one chick. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So then you're introduced to the girlfriend of Harold, and kind of the yin to his yang, meaning like you see his mom and you see this despicable kid, and then you meet Jennifer Connelly's character, who is named Marion, and you see the love.
Named Marion.
Oh God, Marion, who you see the love and compassion that is poured out by Harry or Harry's character, Jared Leto's character, with his girlfriend, and it's super like believable.
They are madly in love.
They're madly in love. Yeah. They are fantastic on screen together. But they're a bit of troublemakers. Like they do fun things, like they go on the roof of this and they throw like paper airplanes. Like it's very like high school kiddish.
But like, and you see kind of his upbringing where he's kind of a druggie and stuff, and she does her own thing, but she does coke, and she has parents that care about her, right?
Well, I think she's kind of like I think her parents want to see her do better, and she's like, oh, they just don't understand me. She has kind of an artistic background where she designs like designer clothes and stuff like that. Yeah, she cuts out magazines and makes cool looking clothes and
but
stuff.
It's kind
like
of mentioned like she needs to go to the psychiatrist once a week or she's going to get cut off.
Right. So you're introduced to that. So you kind of have this like weird juxtaposition of like, oh well, Harry's not a complete asshole. Like he really does love this girl, and he's really genuine and sweet to her. And some of the things they say to each other is like really like, I forget what he says, but it's just like, it's like one of those lines where it's like, you complete me, or something even more genuine. I forget what he's like, I can't remember the line, but it's such a good line in the movie. And a lot of the shots in this movie are over the top, and they're like bird's eye view, and they're spinning around slowly the characters, which is also very cool and very interesting. It doesn't make you dizzy. I thought at first I was like, okay, this is going to make me dizzy, but no. Okay, then you are told, because again, Sarah Goldfarb, who's Harry's mother, is watching this TV show, and she gets a phone call. And it's this phone call that says, we're going to put you on TV.
Guess what? You won.
You won. We're going to send you paperwork and you're going to get on the show. And she's like freaking out. She's like, this is everything I wanted, because you learn later on she's like all alone. And like, this is the only thing that she puts her life.
TV.
Yeah, it's TV.
That's her addiction is TV.
Right, exactly. So she gets a call on. She won the contest, and now she's freaking out about what she's gonna wear, how she's gonna look on TV. She's got to doll herself up because she's just been sitting at home and basically being a shut-in. So she goes and gets her only friend at the apartment complex to like do her hair. And I love the line where it's like, oh, it's gonna be red, and it comes out orange. She's like, it's like a shade of red, and she's like, no, it's orange.
But not only that, but it's to fit into the red dress. The red dress that she wore at his graduation, right. With
college graduation, by the way. I think is what it was.
I thought it was high school.
No, I think it was college, because we'll get into that a little bit. I want to ask you about that. But anyways, I thought it was college, and it's...
But she can't fit into the dress.
She can't fit in the dress, so she's got to figure out something. So she goes and talks to her friends, and all of the people that live in the apartment complex are like these people who sit out and sunbathe in front of the complex, and they're all...
old lady.
Yeah, they're all stoop ladies, right? So... they all start liking her. They're all friends with her because she's going to be on TV. So be friends with the girl that's going to be on TV. And they tell her like, oh, she's like, I got to lose some weight for this so I can fit into this.
I got this diet book that'll help you out.
Yeah, and so she takes it for a couple days, and
she had like an egg, grapefruit, and black coffee.
Yeah, and then she can't do it. She's like, oh, her stomach, and there's like
the fridge is looking at her.
Do you remember the dream with like cupcakes and bagels? Dude, that was awesome.
Flying in the air. She's like,
So she can't the will, she doesn't have the willpower to do it. She needs some other, and someone told her, oh, I have this doctor friend who can prescribe pills and you lose weight like crazy. Amphetamines, which later on you learn. So she's like, oh, no, I'll try the dieting book. And she realizes it's not going to work. So then she's like, give me the number to your doctor. So that's kind of the setup for her character, Sarah Goldfarb's character. Then you move on and you meet a couple other, you've already kind of met Marlon Wayne's character Tyrone a little bit. But what's nice, again, you see the love and the care that Harry has for his girlfriend Marion by saying, hey, like, why don't we do what you want to do? Why don't we follow your dream of like opening up a storefront and selling your designer clothes? Yeah, why don't we do that? Like, let's go that route. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. And like the beginning of this movie is...
They have a plan. It is a drug dealer plan. They're going to buy a small amount of really good stuff, cut it, and then sell it, make a crazy profit. It's enough where they could buy a large amount of the really good stuff again, cut it, and then use that money to fund their endeavors.
Right, and this is the summer part of the movie, which is like everything's going really well. Like they're doing drugs, and they're like, it's one of those things where this is almost like the perfect PSA for drug use.
Oh yeah, because it's shows like movie to any kid that looks like.
Well, it's just like everybody who at one point or whatever does something they're not supposed to, they're like, they do it and they're like, why is everybody telling me not to do this? This is awesome. Like
drugs are amazing.
No, but seriously, because and it seems like here they have a business plan. Everything's going great. They're gonna open up this shop for Marion. They're gonna deal these drugs. No one gets caught.
Tyrone is gonna like he wants to go up with the ranks with his the
drug dealing ranks, right? Yeah. So and it's like he's getting a promotion. Like everything's going perfectly well, right?
They're filling up boxes full of money, and I'm just like, holy crap, dude.
Yeah, it's like and
they're using, but they're not using a lot. They're doing what I guess you should be doing is saving money for their prospects.
Yeah, to ultimately not have to do this anymore, which is like what every drug dealer is like. We're gonna get out of this game. We just got to make a big score and then we're done. That's what everybody else says.
Last big score. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Then they. Okay, so I want to talk before the fallout of this. Sarah goes to that doctor to get the drugs to help her, and she takes them. And it's like, the doctor is totally impersonable.
So sad. He doesn't even look at her.
Doesn't even look up. Just looks at her chart. Yeah, take this, take that, you'll be good. And then walks out, and she's like, okay. So she takes one in the morning, one in the afternoon,
one in 4 different colors and stuff.
Yeah, and so you see she takes it, and they do this amazing shot where like she's cleaning her house and like dancing around. She's like all fidgety, and she's trying to, and you're like, oh no, this isn't going to end well, right? Because this movie, nothing goes well towards the end. So everything seems like good. She's losing weight, she's fitting into the dress, she's cleaning her house. Like, hey, like she's doing drugs, but like this is a pretty good byproduct. Like her house is a lot cleaner. She seems happier, and I wrote down, this girl's going to have a heart attack. And then like also the other character, Tyrone, is because he's kind of not, they don't give him necessarily like a goal. I guess now that I think about it, you saying he wanted to move up in the ranks and he was doing that, but there's this
before the cut to the next season.
Yeah, the fall. So there's this scene with him where he bought new mirrors in his sliding glass mirrors or something like that. And it's this flashback to him as a little kid in his mom's arms. Mm-hmm. So I think he's looking for that. His goal is to find that same compassion that his mother gave him when he was a little child. And that's why, but then he's immediately like, oh, well, I'll never, I don't know. There's this weird, he's probably the one character that I don't understand fully in this movie.
It's not as developed as the other ones.
Yeah. So it seems like everything's just going really well.
He's got his mom a new TV.
Yeah.
To replace
he apologizes to his mom. He buys her this giant TV
from Macy's. They're shipping it tomorrow.
Right. So you're like, okay, well, he's getting his stuff together. Like he's paying back for all of his sins. Like, maybe this drug use thing is not a bad idea, right? Like, this is why...
Well, again, they're not using during that time.
Oh, they're using.
Well, yeah, but it's not like before, let's just do this one,
Well, it's almost like we got to know what our product is, you know what I mean?
When the guy says, in the car, he's like, well, you're not a junkie, which is the best part about you working for us. Mm-hmm. You're out there to get money.
But this first part of the whole arc of this movie is to try to give you hope. Everything's
ripped it all away.
Right. And so, because it would just, it's easy to be like, drug use is bad. Don't do it. Look at all these terrible things. Well, the first time I saw this movie, I was like, what is this movie about? Because it's like everything's going really well for all of these characters. Like, despite them doing these things that we're told end poorly for everyone. But the scene, I think the turning point, it's not necessarily the gunshot in the car where I was, that part was bad, but I think
almost scared me when they turned around. So like Tyrone's in the car talking to supposedly the gang leader or whatever.
Who's also like deaf, which was kind of a weird choice.
Yeah, but they're like,
but I don't understand that.
You get your promotion, blah, blah, blah. And then
he's like, oh, you have a white driver?
Yeah, it turns around and it gets shot. And then immediately it cuts. He's just like, blood splatter on his face. Yeah. Immediately cuts. It's like to fall. And then you have this awesome cut of him running, and like the camera, it's like those weird rigs
Blair Witch style,
yeah, kind of where it's like running, it's like all in his face, and that's just those kind of are like super unsettling. Those kind of
you feel like you're running with him. You're like,
there's a bunch of movies. There's a bunch of movies that do that, but this is just done really well. It's just kind of unsettling, and because all you see is his face, the tear on his face, blood. It's just.
But see that scene right before creepy, scene, the scene that I was like, oh, this is now starting to take a turn, was the scene where Harold is talking to his mother about. He sees her like grinding her teeth, and he's like, "What?
I thought that was after the
No,
cut.
No, it's right before this.
Okay. What uppers you got? They got you on.
What drugs are you on? And she's like, "Oh, it's just the doctor." And he's like, He's like, Mom, you got to get off that stuff. She's like, but I'm losing weight. And he's a doctor. Who are you? You don't know anything. I'm not. And he's like, well, what's in those? She's
so
like,
she doesn't know he does drugs?
No, I think she does. I think she doesn't think he does drugs.
The way she said, like, how would you know that?
Right.
Yeah.
And she's also oblivious to the fact that he's like, I work in exports. I'm like, anyone who says they work in import-export means they're dealing drugs. Unless I guess a few people do, but most people who say that aren't. But then she says to him, like, they're fighting. There's this argument about, like, why are you doing this? Who cares about the red dress? Who cares about going on TV? Why do you give a crap? And she says, I'm all alone. I have nobody. Like, this is the only thing that makes me happy. And he's like, well, you have friends. They're like, they're only friends with me because they think I'm going to be on TV because I'm going to be on TV.
I got the center seat, you know.
And like
they're all excited to be around her because she's going to be doing this.
It is so sad. Like, I don't want to get old. Like, this movie, I was just like, man, I don't want to get old. Like, I really don't.
Well, you don't want to be old and alone.
And it's so the way she tells it is just like, I'm all alone. Like, I don't have anybody. Your father's gone and you're never around anymore. And he's like, he feels like Jared Leto. Man, he is like he's like, oh, I'll come around more often, okay? I'll bring Marion too, and like, we'll see. And she's like, that would be great. You know, I'll make you guys a roast, and it's just like that empty nest feeling of, it's this movie. I'm already gonna like.
Have you ever lived by yourself, David?
No,
neither have I. I don't want to.
Here's one thing that this idea of talking to other people, what we're doing right now, is really important, like super important. And if you're by yourself and you're in your house and you don't literally open. I can't imagine living alone and never saying anything out loud for like a whole day. When's the last time you didn't say a word for a whole day? If you lived alone and you didn't interact with anybody?
No, because like there'll be times where like if I'm home by myself, like I work from home. No, I talk to my dogs. even creepier, I talk to my dogs and cat. No, but I am more talkative to my animals when I'm home alone because again, it's like
right, and that concept of loneliness and isolation is what makes like the best zombie movies. It's what makes the best true sadness, because like the only thing we have is human interaction. That's like one great thing that we have as human beings.
And I can tell you from working at home, like nothing excited me more than when Sarah got home and I was like, let's go grocery shopping. Let's just go out and get out of this freaking house. Right, you know.
And
so I know,
that's why I think that's the beginning of The Fall, is like her opening up to her son about like, I'm all alone. I don't have anybody. This is all I have to live for, is this TV thing and the dress and all of this. And he's like, none of that stuff's important, Ma. But he doesn't.
Your health is more
as soon as she starts to kind of put the full court press on, he walks away. He's like, oh, I'll come visit more. You know, Ma, you'll be all right. Because I don't think he wants to deal with that grief and that.
He has his own things going on.
Well, not just that. It's incredibly sad. It's just incredibly, incredibly sad. Okay. Then, so now it's this, now the setup for me, I'm like, oh no, here it all comes. And then, man, does it come.
Freaking fall, man.
Fall comes.
Fall.
Which is
it does fall.
Appropriately named. She has the new TV set, Sarah, and she's sitting in front of it, and she's calling the doctor, and she's like, the pills aren't working like they used to. Like, I used to feel a lot more energy, and I used to feel like I was losing weight, and like things were going, and the I'm guessing it's some nurse on the phone. She's like, you're just getting adjusted to it. Don't worry about it. It's normal. And she's like, well, I don't think it's normal. And so she does this, they do the thing where she puts one pill in her. Two. Yeah, and she takes the second one, and you're like, no.
So it begins, yeah.
So it begins, and then the fridge starts shaking.
And well, not just that, but it's like she's seen herself. Yeah, she's tweaking. So it's like she can see herself in the show.
Yeah.
Let's bring on Sarah. Everyone give her juice, you know, whatever.
Yeah. She's now having hallucinations about
her and like grandeur, and her hair's all done up and stuff. She's like, oh, I'm going to get there.
The dress looks so much nicer than the one she has, by the way.
And her hair and everything. Yeah. And then, the fridge starts, you know, which is like super scary when she's looking at it, and it just like jumps.
Because I think at this point she's not even eating anything. I think she's just drinking coffee and the pills.
Yeah.
Not good. No. Tyrone is now in jail. He got picked up after he ran away. He does make bail, so apparently they didn't keep him in jail. They didn't think he killed everybody.
Well, you can see them burning through this cash they've saved, right? You got the first big TV set. That was kind of like the first big purchase.
Yep.
Broke them out of jail, made bail for that. So you can start seeing where their money that they've worked so hard for all these dreams and everything is going.
Yeah, it's starting to fall apart. And then the next scene is like Sarah now taking 3 pills because the 2 aren't working. So like it's getting even worse. Like, and then I wrote here, the sound mixing in this movie is amazing. Like the sounds, like we were talking about, like the like all the sounds of the drug use, and then like
pop pop pop, and
the pops of her popping the pills, the sound of the TV moving, the sound of the studio audience. All of that is really well done in this movie. Like this movie is visceral, man. You are in the movie. And And then she goes back to the doctor, Sarah, to say, hey, like these pills, like I'm taking more of these pills. But now she's like, it's like even creepier.
Dude,
like
that is so weird. Where she's like, really seems like she's really close to the camera, and the doctor's like really far
fisheye.
away. Yeah.
And he's like,
they use that a lot in this movie, the fisheye stuff, and it's like super unsettling.
And it's like slow motion, and then fast motion, and then slow motion. Is really well done. Where she's like walking through the street.
Get there?
Yeah, but he keeps telling her, he's like, just take these other pills to offset the pills you're taking, which is of course never a good idea. Don't need the pills to get rid of the shakes, right? So that happens, but now the other characters are frustrated about their business going down. They're starting to lose money. The drug use is becoming the outlet for the frustration.
Like, let's just do one more. It'll give us a good idea. And yeah,
they're losing money. And then Marion is kind of pulled into this.
She stops seeing the psychiatrist, so she's cut off.
Right. So she has this one guy that she goes and sees. It sounded like it's
psychiatrist at dinner.
That was the psychiatrist?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it was a psychiatrist. I thought it was I just thought it was a rich guy that wanted to go out on dates with a pretty girl. No, by the way, Jennifer Connelly is gorgeous in this movie.
Yeah, she is.
Gorgeous.
But yeah, that's the psychiatrist.
Okay. So then there's this idea we need money. We have to get enough money so that we can do this again. We can get a big cut or a big chunk of heroin, and then we can cut it and do it all over like we did in the summer. But they don't have the money anymore. They had to pay for the big TV to the mom. They had to bail Tyrone out of jail, and just things are spiraling out of control. So one solution, Occam's razor, the easiest way to get money is to use your own body if you don't have anything else to sell.
And he knows that the psychiatrist is into her, and she's like, well, I haven't seen him in so long. I've been cut off, blah, blah, blah. He'll know it's weird. It's like, no, just fine. And
he's like pimping out his girlfriend, which is just like,
they have this conversation where she's like, what if I have to do what
I have to do to get the money? Like, yeah,
are you just like, whatever you got to do.
See,
we really need this.
Yeah, and that's where I'm like, it's all falling apart.
She's not like, he's gonna have sex with me. But it's like insinuated. Like,
yeah, I don't think
how far do you want me to go?
Well, I think also too, she doesn't think she can do it. I think she's also like, please tell me no, because I don't even know if I can do it. If you tell me, if you cut me loose, I don't know if I can do it. But she goes out to dinner with him.
And she's looking bad because she's a cokehead at this point. And
yeah, they're starting, well, not bad. I think it's just more like extra darker makeup under her eyes because she still looks fantastic. But
like that coke hot dude.
No. And then she, there's a couple scenes in this movie where the character plays out a scene in their mind. And then, you're like, what the?
Oh, yeah.
Like, taking the gun from the cop is what Harold does, and then she takes the fork and sticks it in his hand, and then it flashes, and that didn't happen. That was what they were imagining in their brain. So there's like...
They wanted to do.
Yeah, they wanted to do. But he grabs her hand and says, you need some money.
And he doesn't even care. I
think he knows. He knows. He's a psychiatrist, which is really sad, by the way, that he's taking advantage of her big time. But now Marion makes the leap, right? She makes the leap of... Does the bit. She sells her body and violates her most inner sanctuary. I mean, your body. That is literally no one else can feel your pain, the most personal thing possible, and she does it for drugs. Does she do it for Harold, or does she do it for the drugs at this point? What do you think?
I think her mind's in the right spot. Like she's sacrificing
that team player.
Exactly.
But it's one of those things, like, once you cross a line, it's like Batman, man. If you kill one, you can kill again. No, seriously. Again, another interesting camera technique. They use that same where it's strapped to their body, where she's leaving the apartment, and she's been violated. She did the bit.
It's a shell of her former
She's
self.
walking into the elevator. She's like stumbling. She gets outside. As soon as she gets outside, she vomits.
Yeah.
Right, and it's just like that. You can never put that piece back together. Nope. You have now broken a piece off of your humanity, and it's never going to be able to fit again. And it's just this movie, man. And you like her.
We're not even done with the movie.
I know,
There's
and
still
you like her character because she has creativity and she has love and she has compassion, and I think she was doing it because she loved Harold.
Yeah.
Right? And so,
dude, all until the very end, they were crying to each other, saying how much they loved each other. Like, they were very much in love. They had a goal in mind together, and they were just at the point where they're willing to do anything to get there.
So then he has to do drugs because I think he's freaking out about her having to do this terrible thing.
Dude, when she comes home and they just sit on the couch and don't even talk to each other and don't even look at each other, and
it's over. Like, they've broken they can never mend that bridge. Like, it's been burnt to the ground and stepped on and everything. And I wrote, everything's about to boil over. Like, it's no longer, now it's the
You're no longer in
the
control.
the means will always justify the goal. Like if prostitution is on the table and you do it, like I don't know much, like murder, I guess is the next logical conclusion for if you need to get something done. Like prostitute, selling yourself, that's about as high as it goes for means justifying goals. And Marion starts to now lose it because she's like, I did everything. I did something none of you did. I gave a piece away of me for this overall goal. So don't tell me you can't get it done. Because then they take the money that she got and they went to like a Costco. It was like I put Costco. It's like a Costco for drug dealers. They go to like a grocery store and in the back there's like all these drug dealers in a giant van.
It's because like I guess the supply of this really pure stuff has dried up in their city, so they can't just buy it again and just do what they did before.
They brought it from Florida,
but they got it. Yeah, they got a whiff of this one. And then the shootout happens, of course, because they're all freaking drug dealers, of course.
Yeah, somebody pushes somebody and it takes out a gun, and the people from Florida take off.
Yep. And they need that. They need it.
Right. Well, that's their business. That's their lifeline. Yep. At this point. So they go back to the apartment, and again, she flips out. She's like, "What do you mean it didn't work out? You need to make it work. Go do whatever you got to do. I did whatever I had to do. Don't give me any crap."
Not your guys' turn, yeah.
So it's almost a division of labor argument where it's like,
Hey, she got a point.
Right. She does. She has a really good point. Then we flash back to Sarah again. And now the mom is now taking
out of her freaking mind.
She's now taking 4 pills. And it's really getting weird. They've got those shots. I don't even know how they do this cinematography wise or how they shoot it, but she's walking down the street of New York and she's walking slowly and all of the other people are walking fast, almost so fast that they look like blurs of
when
people.
She actually gets out, right? When the fridge finally freaks her out to the point where
she leaves the apartment. And it's just,
she's in the red dress.
It's all,
her hair is like, obviously she's got roots and stuff that are great, but she's still got the red in there and she's just like
tweaked out of her mind.
Skinny and tweaked and
So she's now kind of creepy. And then, of course, there's now this huge fight between Marion and Harold. Basically, like I was saying, the division of labor happens. She starts losing it on him. She's afraid, so she starts losing it. Like we said, Sarah starts losing it. She's afraid of the fridge. She runs out of the house. And then she has the scene before she leaves the house that she's in the TV show.
Yeah.
And like this illusion of grandeur where she's on the TV show starts flipping and everyone starts pointing and laughing at her.
Like, you'll never be here. Look at you.
Yeah. And then the home set her home turns into the TV set. The fridge is now like talking to her. Like, I don't know if it was talking to her, but it was like getting really close and like,
open her mouth,
she runs out of the room and then it goes winter. And it's like, okay.
Another hard cut into a season, man.
Cut into a season. And now it's like, there's
the S has already hit the I.
Well, exactly.
Now we're on full rotation. Crap is hitting everything.
And there's a part of you in the movie where I'm like, one of these guys has got to figure, like someone, not movies don't end on bad notes. Usually there's some.
You are wrong. Dude.
Yeah, there's some resolution.
You couldn't be any more wrong.
No. So winter comes. Winter is coming. That no more appropriate term than that as of right now. The concept, here's how we're going to solve the problem. Harold and Tyrone say, we're going to just go down to Florida. We're just going to get the supply directly from the guys in Florida because they left New York, and we're going to come back. All right? We're going to do that. We're going to be fine. Figured it out.
Back on the straight and narrow.
By the way, Sarah, his mom, is completely nuts at this point. Like, she's in the streets. Where did
she end up? And then
she was on the train and she's like talking to herself and telling people on the subway, like,
I'm going to be on television.
You got to tell Harry and Marion when to come over to have a roast because I'm going to feed him a roast and then I'm going to be on TV. And like people are like, get the hell away from me. Like, you've been on a train or a subway with that crazy person.
Because she didn't receive, she sent in the application, but she didn't receive anything back. Tried calling them, so she's taking a train to go there.
To go to the TV studio, and she's like, why aren't you calling me? You were supposed to call me. And they're like...
And she's like, all out of her mind.
Out of her mind, and the TV people, the people that are the employees, they're like, call the paramedics to come get her, because they're just like, this. It's just like, everyone has had that experience where you run into like a drunk crazy person or like a tweaked out crazy person, like, don't make eye contact. But this is the story behind that person and how they got there. And there's going to be a big debriefing at the end of this, but I want to get through the rest of this movie. Marion is left back in Coney Island while the guys go out to Florida, and she's having withdrawals because they don't have any money, so they can't take any drugs. And now she's coming off of it, and she's freaking out. And the big fight that Marion and Harold have before they leave for Florida is like, well, you know what? If you just can't handle it, then you could call this guy. He'll take care of you. He's got drugs, but you might have to do something you don't want to do for him. And so there's this whole scene where she's like, calls the number,
hangs up,
calls the number.
Not only that, but the number is written on the back of a very nice picture of them.
Yes.
So she's like looking at the picture and like, oh, look how great
look
we were.
Like how we were.
Slowly flips it over and dials the number. It's like, oh.
And basically,
brutal.
the number that she's dialing is a drug dealer who is also basically like a sex pimp, slave, swinger.
Yeah.
It's Keith. It's David Keith, by the way, which is weird.
He's got an excellent voice, by the way.
No, of course he does, but it's just weird to see him because he's like normally not that character. Yeah. His name is Big Tim, which is never a good idea to call somebody named Big Tim. So Marion calls him finally, and he's like,
"Sorry, what did he say when she's like over at his place? He's like, I need to take it out for air."
He's like, take it out for air. So she goes over there. She's clearly like, again, because that piece of her has now been taken away. This is gonna be an easier route to do this terrible thing. Basically, go over to this guy and exchange sex for drugs,
and not money, drugs.
Just straight
it was
up,
money the first time. But
now
not
it's
this time.
Now it's drugs. And his character is, his apartment is nice. It's very refined. Like it's not this creepy, weird place like a coke house or anything like that, crack house. And he's very like, he's like very. It's weird to explain. Like he's not like like a quote unquote pimp that you would think. He's just like very nice to her and speaks to her in a very like condescending way. Like she's less than him, but treats her with some dignity, I guess, to some extent.
Sure, David.
But then eventually like makes the suggestion, hey, like if you know what to do if you want to get these drugs, and she unfortunately does it.
We got a party, come on down.
Yeah, and so at that point, after they're done, he's like, hey, we're going to have this big thing on Sunday. You can come over. There's going to be some good people. And she's like, no, this is just like a one-time thing. He's like, sure it is.
And doesn't even,
hesitate.
I'll see you on Sunday.
He'll see you on Sunday, and it's just like, he knows.
Yeah, of course.
He knows, and it's, again, people taking advantage of other people's addiction, and now more of her piece is taken away of her, humanity and herself, and it's just like, how do you stop this vicious cycle, right? Because like you need the drugs to feel good about the terrible thing you did, and you need.
Well, that's the whole thing, right?
Vicious circle. Right. Okay, so then I wrote she's basically now a full-on hooker. I said, giving BJ's for drugs, not good. Then
not good at all.
Not
David.
good at all.
Well, this can't be good. She's blowing him for coke. This is not good at all. I just imagine you watching a movie like, this is terrible. Terrible.
My goodness. I did not see that coming. I thought this was going to resolve. I thought you know what? I'm going to go to, I'm going to change my ways. But then we cut to, now it's got to be the downfall of Harry and Tyrone, right? And so Harry has been kind of showing this. He's got this problem with his arm because he's shooting up heroin into his arm. And finally he's like, man, it hurts so bad. And he rolls up his arm and it's so gross. It's like gangrene. It's like getting to a point it's all infected and disgusting.
And he goes to like do another thing. He's like, you're going to do that? Yeah, fine. They show the needle going into it.
Yeah, he's like, you're going to shoot heroin into that arm. And he's like, yeah, it'll make it at least feel better. And he's just like, man, don't do that. And like, again, these directors are like, they're not going to show the needle going into the disgusting, rotting flesh arm. And it's like, yes, we are, because guess what? You're going to feel it. And it's just like, and like, you're like, it's going to get better, right? His arm's got to get better. Like, the drugs will help.
So they landed up in jail. How did they land up in?
No, so his arm is so bad that Tyrone is like, I got to take you to a doctor. So he takes him to probably just some quick care clinic. Yeah. And then the doctor, by the way, that guy is from something. The guy he's
from a bunch of things.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, hey you. And he's like in the movie for 3 seconds.
One of those faces, yeah.
So he sees Harry's arm and he's like, okay, hold on one second. He grabs all like the drugs that are in the vials, walks away, calls the cops, obviously, because it's pretty obvious this guy's got huge track marks in his arm. Cops show up, they arrest both of them, and now they're in jail. Now they're being booked. And in Florida. Well, I think it's somewhere in between here in Florida. Yeah. So he makes his one phone call to Marion. And this
call is the worst. This is so brutal.
He calls her, and it says, remember, he's only going to get one call, and she's not going to come save him. And I think he knows that. I think
they both know that.
They both know they're done. Like it's over. Like we're not.
And this is about. She's all done up, ready to go to the thing on Sunday.
Basically the sex slave thing or whatever. And she's like, come home. And he's like, I'm gonna come home soon. I'll be home soon. And it's just like,
no, it's not even that. It's the part where she's like, can you come today?
Yeah, he's like, I'll be home soon. And she's like, no, can you please come today? I need you today. And it's like, yeah. And it's like they both know there's no one coming to save them.
So it's just I'll come today.
The empty promise of, and it's
freaking brutal, man.
This movie, it honestly, it's this movie. It paints such an important picture for the idea of addiction, being a vicious cycle and something that is incredibly difficult to pick yourself up with your own bootstraps and get out of.
And it's really easy to look at these kind of people and just be like, well, just stop doing drugs. How hard is that? It's not that. Like, they're not controlled. They're not the ones being like, I'm going to take drugs right now. It's the addiction.
It's a physical, physiological
your body
addiction.
Need this or you'll die.
And there's this, this boiling crab concept of like when one person, and there's plenty of times in this movie where one person goes, no, let's not. And then the other person's like, come on. And it's like, okay, yeah. And there's never a concerted effort for the two people in the ditch to get out, and so that is what's shown in that phone call is probably one of the saddest pieces of film ever, like literally. And it's like flickering light where he is on the phone. He's like laying in the huddled corner with the pay phone, and she's like got the house phone, and she's looking in the mirror at herself like, I don't want to do this. Please, I just need someone to stop me. Anyone. I can't do it myself. Please help me. She's asking for help, and she's not going to get it. Not from the person who's calling. I literally wrote down the worst phone call ever. You also cut to Sarah, his mom, now being helped by the paramedics. Their orderlies are trying to force food down her mouth. She's at basically a crazy house, and they're trying to force food down her mouth. And you get this really close camera perspective of like first person of her, and they're like they're holding.
And they have like a headlock almost.
Yeah,
because like shoving food down.
Because she won't swallow the food. Like she's now completely nuts. Like she's lost all faculties to some extent, and now they're just trying to get her to a point where they can try to treat her. Like they need to get her to a point of being malnourished.
Because she's going through withdrawals, right?
Yeah, they need to help her through the malnourishment that she hasn't eaten because she's been taking black coffee and pills for the last, I don't know, at least for the last 3 months, because it started in summer and fall and now it's winter. And the doctors are like talking to her, and they're like, "Look, we've tried all this stuff to try to help you, and none of it's really. You're not responding to any of it."
There's the part where they shove the feeding tube in her nose.
Yep, they're trying to feed her because they can't get her to swallow, and it's just like, and she's basically a vegetable almost at this point. And then they get her to sign this. By the way, as an attorney, I'm like, that is not consent. So they get her to sign this waiver or this consent form to do ECT, which is shock therapy on her. She like takes her arm and like she's strapped down. It's just like all she wanted to do was be on TV, and like look where it led her. Then they do then this is the part of okay, so then that wraps up because now there's this last part of the movie that is probably literally one of the most my heart, like I was like, I gotta stop, please, really just please stop. This movie needs to just end. But before that happens, before there's these quick cuts, cut. Marion goes over to the Sunday, the sex
party.
She's getting electroshock therapy. Tyrone and Harold are now being like given work tasks by the prison. Can you work? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Yes, sir. Okay, you're good for work. Tyrone is now working some kind of prison work. The Harold's arm is so bad that he can't even work, so they take him to basically the infirmary or the hospital, and they're working to cut off his arm. They've got to amputate his arm because the gangrene has got some...
all these things are happening in quick cuts from each crappy situation to the next.
Yeah, it's cut.
So you have like his arm and then prepping the arm. Then you have her in a very
precarious
ass to ass.
Yes.
Then you have her going through the electroshock.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
they like put a thing in her mouth so that she doesn't bite off her own tongue, and they're shocking her, and she's screaming, and Tyrone's being he's working,
stirring the whatever,
and the prison guard is saying, you guys from New York are just a bunch of and he's like using the N-word, and it's just like cut. All of this is the end of the line for all of these characters. This is the price they paid for their addiction. And not, it's like that question of like, does the punishment meet the crime? And like, remember, Harold stole his TV from his mother and all of this terrible things. And like, they all made the active choice to do drugs. No one forced them to do it. Right. But he gets his arm cut off, and they show the blood splatter into his face, and then they show Marion, and they show like really graphic stuff with what she's doing with other women at this, and everyone's around cheering with dollar bills, and basically it's like a dog fight, right? It's almost like so gross, like they're not even human anymore. Tyrone is, he just wanted to help his friend by taking him to the hospital, and was, and now
he throws up in the vat or whatever.
Now he's in the prison, and then the mom is now again being shocked, and then it's like stops. Right, all of the cuts stop, and like this movie does a thing where there's a lot of cutting, but at the very end it's so fast, and the music is just like that. It's like that build up, and
by the way, that theme song is like it's like if you listen to the whole thing, it's called Ux Eterna or something like that, and it literally is a song that doesn't end. It's constant build up. Din it,
Yeah, it never ends. Like, you're like, come on, let's have it. Yeah. Just come on. It's like if the Jaws theme just went on for like 45 minutes. And you're like, exactly. Just bite somebody already, right? Like, and that's what this does. And then finally it ends. And then you get the resolution of how all these characters, how they end up. The mom is now in this mental hospital. Her friends that were at the apartment come and visit her, and they can't. They don't even recognize her
because they like cut off all of her hair. It's all like really short gray hair.
She's just like,
and she's just like an empty
vessel of a person. Yeah. She's just and then they show a scene of them outside of the hospital crying like, oh God, I hate this movie. I mean, I love it, but it's brutal. It's man. The epic conclusion of all the worst decisions you've ever made.
Leto's there wrapped up screaming because his arm is gone.
Cut off, and then that's not even the worst part. The arm cutting off is not the worst, but he says Marion. He starts saying her name out loud because he's having that hallucination that he had earlier in the movie about her being on the pier. In Coney Island.
That's right. Yeah.
And he's like, Marion, and there's a nurse there, and she wakes him up. She's like, it's okay. Who's Marion? And
we'll call her. She'll come.
We'll call her. She'll come. And he's like, no, she won't. And she's like, no, she will. And she's like, no. And he starts crying because he knows, like, she's done too. Like, we're all done. Like, this is it. And then Tyrone is now in jail, and he's done with his work, and he's back at his like bunk in this big cell of all these people, and he kind of curls up into a ball. And what's really nice is not nice, but this everybody at the end of the movie curls up into the fetal position on a couch or on a bed, and they all just want to be saved. They all want that security of the womb, and it's like, somebody please come save these people.
Someone give these people a hug. That's all they want.
Why doesn't Darren Aronofsky just have somebody come and save all these people? And then that's it. The movie ends.
How's Merriman?
Miriam? Marion's on the couch. She got her drugs, but she's curled up and like
she just goes home and curls up. Yeah.
Curls up with the drugs, and that's the.
And she like holds them. She's like, oh.
That's her. That in. Sarah, she dreams of winning the game show. There's this cut to the game show again.
At the very end of the movie.
Yeah, and it's just this movie. The reason why this movie is so amazing is like what you were talking about. Each character is not this drug addict, belligerent,
even mean.
They're
all good people
at
their core.
They all have tenderness, and they show it. Marion is this creator, but it shows that the addiction of drugs negates that creativity. It stifles that creativity. Harold is this intelligent person. He went to college. I'm pretty sure it says college graduation. He's compassionate to his girlfriend, but all of that is ripped away just for the goal of getting more drugs and getting more money for that. Tyrone he sees some importance of family, his mom, but that's all ripped away from him because he has to follow this. He cares about his buddy, right? He takes him even when his arm's falling off. He's going to take him. Despite he probably would have known he could have been caught because he does look around when he's at the clinic like, oh God, oh God, oh God. But that's important to him, his friends and his family.
Mm-hmm. That is his family.
Sarah speaks to her dead husband. Like, she still loves her husband. She wants to be noticed. She wants to be loved. She doesn't want to be alone. She doesn't want to feel like this is it. All of these things are human, basic things.
Everybody just wants a hug.
Yeah, you feel empathy for these characters. Yeah. Like, usually when you have drug dealers in movies and like the PSAs that we see, it's like, the gangster who like is a pimp and doesn't care about anybody, and he's this, he's just a gross character. No. All these people are dealing with addiction. Now, I've got a bunch of stuff I want to talk about, like the topics of discussion for you. So one of the things about this movie,
deep talk.
Yeah, one of the things about this movie is a whole thing about television. Television is a reoccurring theme throughout this whole movie. And why do you think he uses television specifically as a?
Television is the escape, right? You watch TV to escape what your current situation is.
Okay.
You're in the show.
Yeah.
Right.
But I guess, do you think her addiction was to... Because again, all of these characters have different forms of addiction, right? And
first, she has a kind of a couple. She started with the TV and the watching and the fantasizing that. Then it kind of moved to...
No, but I think that's her underlying addiction. I think...
kind of, yeah.
If the drugs feed the addiction of television. But it's not even an addiction. Okay, so let me jump back. Have you ever been addicted to anything? Not like drugs. I'm just saying anything, because there's this movie shows
where
that
like if I didn't have that thing, I was like, I need to have that thing.
Yes, and the next question is what makes an addiction unhealthy to you?
I don't,
because like you can be addicted to like working out. That's not necessarily that bad. That's healthy, quote unquote.
Well, first of all, any addiction can be bad.
Too much of a good thing is never a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Have I ever been addicted to anything? No.
Have you ever felt like I'll admit I've been addicted. I'm probably addicted to caffeine. Like if I don't have caffeine after a certain amount of time, I will have withdrawals and I'll feel weird and I don't like it. And I'm at a point where the caffeine doesn't even work anymore. Like if I drink a Coke, I'm not like, woo.
This is the definition of addiction, David. Yes.
Yeah.
We said, I think I'm addicted to caffeine.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. My name's David and I'm addicted to caffeine. Like a lot of people, but I'm also addicted to like fatty foods and like there's lots of things that we don't call quote unquote addictions. Like I'm addicted to board games. But my question is when does an addiction become unhealthy? And this
addiction becomes unhealthy when you need to have the thing to keep going.
Okay, so, to keep going. All right, I guess.
So if someone took all your caffeine away, would you die? Would you stop living?
No.
No, you'd drink water or something else.
No, but I think
supplement that.
I think what it is when the goal of getting to feeding the addiction, when you make the active decision that any means are necessary to reach that goal.
But if you were to the point where you're like, I got to kill Gerald to get me a coffee.
It doesn't have to be that concrete.
But you know what I mean. Like if you're willing to go outside of your moral code, we're going back to last week. This is crazy. But
they're all wrapped up in the same.
Yeah, if you have to go outside of what you think is right to get that thing, the addiction thing, then yeah, it's bad.
No, but let's say for instance, I know it's bad for me to drink or eat certain foods, but I do it anyways. So I know it's bad for me. Like fast food is bad for me objectively. Like there's some nutrients there. No, Taco Bell has no nutritional value.
There's tomatoes in my burrito.
Stop it. But my point is that I eat it knowing that I will get fatter and it is less healthy for me.
That's not true.
What do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, I don't think it's as easy as what you're saying is like, if you move outside your moral code, like I don't have a code that says I need to eat healthy things, but maybe that's the point of the addiction is to blur the line of what is your moral code. That's why I love these movies. Make you talk about big things like this.
I don't agree with that. I think an addiction is bad when you have to go outside of what is right and what is wrong. If you have to do something wrong to get that thing, then it's bad. And yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it's something like, yeah, I'm 300 pounds. Should I be going to Taco Bell? No. Am I doing myself harm by eating at a fast food restaurant the size I am? Most definitely yes. Can I eat a salad instead? Yes.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. This movie deals with like different types of addiction. Like one is like she's addicted to, and Aronofsky is like addicted to addiction. By the way, if I'll talk about some of his other movies, and they're all about addiction. But this movie, she's addicted to being loved, or not addicted to being loved, but being noticed, to being cared about, to being important.
Yeah,
because she doesn't feel like she is. And she uses all those other things. She uses other forms of addiction to get to that point. But her addiction is not to drugs. Her addiction is to, it becomes that because it's a physiological addiction. Whereas I think Marion she's probably the most complex character of all of them because like she kind of starts off like not doing heroin and she does cocaine, but like
Coke was
but it's like I think for her it's just the addiction of being, she wants to, again, addiction to being loved. She'll do whatever it takes to get the love of Harold. I don't know. It's just, it's all wrapped into that physical addiction or physiological addiction to drugs, right? And Harold is addicted to, or I think Tyrone is addicted to like being a better businessman and
big aspirations.
Right. And stuff like that. It's just, I like that this movie again deals with addiction in different ways. Like, and that's what I'm trying to say is like, it's
not just drugs. It's not just drugs. Coffee. It's,
how, my wife always says this when we watch like, those shows, Locked Up, like the people in prison.
Scared Straight.
Yeah, she's always like, I want to know their story. And, most people are like, I don't want to know their story. They're a bad person. They deserve to be in jail. Like, you don't want to know. And this movie teaches you, like, some really good people make awful, awful decisions and they can't get out of it. And that's why we need to have different perspective on addiction. And we are starting to turn that, like the opioid addiction that's in this country is like starting to turn
some attention.
Turning the corner of like, oh, you're just a drug addict who, you break your hand so you can get more opiates from the doctor. That's terrible. But it's like, it's a physiological addiction that it's incredibly difficult to pick yourself up by your own bootstraps and get out of
sickness,
it. Yeah. And so, do you think this movie gives an accurate depiction of addiction?
I'd assume so, yes.
Okay.
I'd only assume so because I myself haven't felt like the people in these movies, obviously.
Do you think this movie deserves to be considered one of the most depressing movies ever?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah. Now,
so I told you before, like I'm excited. I was excited to see this movie only because like I know it's a very good movie, and I was excited to see if any kind of inebriation would make this movie any more joyful.
No.
Yeah.
Did not work.
Did not work.
So the Aronofsky, again, I want to say he has a big thing with addiction. So this movie obviously is all about addiction, but his other movies, you have The Wrestler. He's addicted to addicted to the good old times, the past. He wants to relive his good old days.
That's another movie that does not end well.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, but it's also about addiction. And Black Swan is addiction to artistic perfection, right? It's
what a good movie.
No, I know, but I'm saying like he is addicted to addiction, which is hilarious, kind of meta. But again, this movie needs to be seen by everybody at least once, so that like you have some reference. Like I had an uncle who was an alcoholic and died from it, and like I remember as a kid I was like, why doesn't he just stop drinking?
Yeah, duh.
Like as a little kid,
get a glass of water instead.
Right, and it's just like, no, it's not that simple, man. Yeah. And I guess the question is it okay to alter your perspective if it makes you happy? Should you allow somebody to do drugs if it's what they want?
Yeah, because you're not the boss of them.
Right, but that goes kind of against what we're saying. Like, somebody needs to... Like, you can only help people who want to be helped is the quote, but, like, I don't know if these people... I guess they only...
That is the first step of people being like, hey, I need your help.
Right.
The most you can do is just sit back and be like, man, I feel bad for Gerald. But, unless he recognizes himself, what is he going to do?
Oh, man. Well, good news.
What's our next movie, David?
Yeah,
I'm ready to not be so deep anymore.
We went Taxi Driver.
Remember when these
Clockwork
podcasts
Orange?
were just watch this movie and talk about it, not like all these deep life questions? What's our next movie?
We had Taxi Driver, Clockwork Orange, and Requiem for a Dream. So we deserve number 77 is Amelie. Have you seen this movie?
I did with Dan a while ago. I don't remember.
It's a foreign film.
Yeah,
it is
French, right?
2001.
She looks like Mr. Bean.
A little bit, yep.
Rowan Atkinson. She looks like Mr. Bean.
But it's a happier movie. It's definitely not this dark. But
it's definitely another weird one.
By the way, I think last week we said that Kubrick doesn't have any more movies on that top 100. He has like 2 or 3 more. So
crap. What?
Dr. Strangelove.
Oh.
And there's another one.
That was Kubrick.
Yeah, Kubrick, and then there's a couple other ones that are on there. So get ready. Get your fun Kubrick movies. All right, so let us know what you thought about the intergalactic drama Requiem for a Dream. Just kidding. Let me know what you guys thought about Requiem for a Dream. This is a polarizing movie and just a generally...
School us on addiction. Were we completely wrong?
Yeah, let us know. Let us know.
Are you addicted to anything?
Like this podcast. If you are, send us an email to
sitdowncenter@gmail.com and your closest psychiatrist.
Yes.
You don't want to be addicted.
Yeah, you don't want to be addicted. We will help you through it. Actually, I guess we would be the wrong people to help. We would enable you. All right. Until next time. Bye.
See ya.